Hey everyone, welcome back to the Board Game Spotlight. Today we're going to look at Villains and Henchmen. This is a card game for 1 to 4 players and it plays in about 60 to 75 minutes. So let's take this to the table and I'm going to tell you about it. So here we have set up Villains and Henchmen. Now this game is anti-hero. This takes the typical tropes of superhero genres and turns it upside down. In this game, you get to play the villain. You are going to defeat the heroes that are trying to stop you. And in fact, you get to now be the villain. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the game is about. At the beginning of the game, you're going to do two things. Each player is going to be dealt 2 of these archetype cards. Now the archetypes are going to have passive abilities. Some of them have activated abilities. And so these cards are going to allow you to have a certain passive or active based on the character that you choose. So we could choose to be the cyborg, and he's going to give us a certain action that we can take on our turns. Additionally, you're going to choose one of these setup cards. And so depending on the setup card that you choose, or the setting, it's going to give you some rules. So in this case, we're going to play a 4-player game. So we would put out 1 random hero per player and a random obstacle. So we would flip the deck over and we would place all of these heroes out into the row. Now this is important because it's also going to give us special rules. In this case, we cannot bank any cards into our victory pile if there are any heroes in the row. Additionally, the defeat condition is that if there are 5 or more heroes in play at the end of our turn during the events phase, we will lose. So there are 4 out there currently. The victory condition is that we defeat either the leader or the powerhouse. So these are, here we have the powerhouse and we have the leader. Now this would be shuffled, and so you would not necessarily hit the victory condition that early, but in this setting, we need to defeat one of those heroes. Additionally, we need to bank power surges, which is the lightning symbol, into the victory pile. So let's go ahead and talk about how we might do that. The game is broken up into 3 phases. You have your refresh phase, your action, and your events phase. During the refresh phase, you're going to check for heroes and guards. Now, if there are no heroes or no guards in play, you'll get to choose which of those 2 to put out. If there are no guards in play, you have to play 2 guards. If there are no heroes in play, you would have to play the top card of the hero deck. Now, some of these have various abilities. You'll notice this is a reveal, so when this card is revealed, that action takes place. This is a persistent, so while this hero is in the row, he's going to give guards 1 extra health point. So the guards are now more difficult to destroy, and this is their health value there, so it would be 2 instead of 1. You're then going to refresh your powers and the targets. So refreshing just means that you're unexhausting a card. You're then going to discard any banked defense. And so we'll get to how you do that in the action phase. Now, during the action phase, this is where most of the game takes place. Here, you're going to take the 5 cards that were dealt to you, and you will always draw 5 cards. You're then going to use the cards that have been dealt to you, and you're going to use the power surges, the defense, or the attack. So here's what you can do. You can attack targets. So we have 2 attack cards in our hand. We could choose to put them on guards or on heroes. In this case, we want to put them on the heroes, but which hero do we choose? Well, the speedster is going to cause us to discard a card from our hand, and this is a recurring ability. The leader is making the guard stronger, so there are decisions to make on who you want to destroy. I'm going to put my 2 attack on top of the speedster, okay? So then we see that the speedster has 2 damage out of 4. We then can bank any defense cards that we have in our hand, and defense will come into play in a minute. So now we have 2 power surge. We can use these for a variety of different things. We could bank 1 power surge into the victory pile. We could bank a power surge into our power surge player tableau. Any banked power surge can be used at a later time. The number of power surges that you can bank is equal to the powers that you own, a minimum of 1. Or you could use your power surge and we could purchase new abilities. Now, the first ability that you purchase is going to cost you 2. If you wanted to get a second version of this ability, which is going to unlock the level 2, you would have to pay 3 power surge to do so. But whenever you purchase a power, it goes into a power slot, and it's important to note that you can only own 4 powers at any time. Now that could be a level 1 and a level 2, and then 2 level 1s, or 2 level 2s, or 4 level 1s. However you want to break that up, it's completely up to you, but you can only own 4 power cards at any time. You can also use power surges to bypass an obstacle. And obstacles are important because they're going to, obviously, they are a hurdle, they are in your way, and you're going to need to try to bypass them or get rid of them. And you can use power surge, you can use abilities, and other things like that, like high tech would let you bypass this obstacle. So after you have finished your turn and you have finished using your cards, those are discarded, you're then going to redraw back to 5 cards, and then you're going to go into the event phase. Now, in the first round of the game, all players skip the event phase. But when it comes back around and the first player takes their second turn, then that's when the event phase is going to occur. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw the top card of this deck. Now, these events, this is the superheroes fighting back against you. They are angry, they're trying to thwart your plans, and this deck is full of very bad things. So we would draw the top card, and we've sounded an alarm, which means we have to play the top 2 cards of the guard deck, which can be very bad because now you have these reveal abilities. So you have to discard a card from your hand, remove all damage from guards, play the top card of the guard discard pile. But when you discard cards, you can use defense to defend yourself. So this is where the defend cards come into play. If an ability of a hero or a guard causes you to have to discard a card, it's a 1-for-1, 1 defense for 1 card. You can discard it to not have to discard that card from your hand. Additionally, there are some effects that are going to make you discard from the victory pile. Now this is very bad because the victory pile, you have to use defense cards equal to the number of players. So if an effect was going to cause us to discard from the victory pile, we would have to collectively pay up 4 defense cards to bypass that. Now that can come from 1 player, that could come from the table. But again, if you remove cards from the victory pile, you are now setting yourself back, and it's going to be much harder to win the game. So you really have to make sure that you're not discarding from the victory pile. Additionally, you're going to gain villain points for defeating villains and guards. And you'll notice there is a victory point symbol associated with each card. So this is 1. If we were to defeat the leader, he's a hero, he's worth 2. And so each of them has victory points. You can discard a villain in order to gain a power surge if you really need it. Otherwise, you do want to hold on to those because they are victory points. And at the end of the game, you're going to tally the number of victory points that you have accumulated, and the player who has the most is going to be the winner. So Villains and Henchmen is a fast-paced comic book style game. There's a lot of player interaction with the abilities and the archetypes you can take, with the abilities that you can discover throughout the game, allowing you to exhaust and unexhaust guards and heroes, and even doing some evil things to your opponents at the table. The artwork is fantastic. The overall setting and the design aspects of the game, it feels like you are playing a villain and you are trying to get away with your nefarious plans. If Villains and Henchmen sounds like a game that's interesting to you, if you want to know more about this game, take a look at the description below for a link to the Kickstarter campaign. This has been Derek with the Board Game Spotlight, and this has been your preview of Villains and Henchmen.